As you can hear, the brakes on the second generation Prius, which are 2004 to 2009, were squeaking loudly. The previous owner never changed the brakes, so it still has its original pads at 144,000 miles, which is pretty amazing when you think about it, because most cars maybe only go 50,000 or so. In the end, I ended up leaving the OEM Toyota brake pads on, at least for a little while longer, but this video will walk you through how to change the brakes or check your brakes to see if you actually need to change them. Just got home from work and it is time to replace the squeaky brakes on my Toyota Prius 2007. So this is basically the same front brakes on any second generation Prius. The rear brakes are different. The rear brakes are drum brakes, so you'll have to watch a different video for those. I'm not doing those today. Most of your braking power comes from the front, so if your brakes are squeaking, it's probably going to be your front brakes. But you should check to make sure that's the case. So here's the brakes I got. These are the Bosch QueitCast. I'll put a link to these in the description down below. These are not OEM brake pads, but they're a lot cheaper. I'll do a little review at the end on how they end up working as well, so hopefully that'll help you when you're deciding on which pads to get. Here's just some shop towels and brake cleaner that I got at AutoZone. Start by disconnecting the 12-volt battery in the trunk and moving your keys far away from the car. This is the small battery in the back passenger side of the car. Yeah, this just pops out. You take out those little tabs, pop this piece out. By the way, this is where your jack is, down here. And this battery, okay, so we're just going to disconnect the negative terminal, and that's to make sure that the brake electronic actuators don't fire on accident and cause damage to your brakes. So we loosened it up, got the terminal off. I'm just going to put that terminal off to the side. And again, you want to make sure your keys are also far away from the car, so nothing with the electronic system happens while you're working on the brakes. Now we're just going to remove that. We'll leave it loose just on top. Loosen the lug nuts on the wheel. You can use a breaker bar or just the lug wrench in the trunk of the car. A piece of pipe on the wrench will give you a lot more leverage. Position the jack under the frame. Once the car is jacked up, I like to put a jack stand under the car and then just leave the jack there alongside it with the weight mostly on the jack stand. Make sure you're getting in position well. The wheel under the car trick is another safety for you and the car. If the jack stand and the jack fails, then it'll just fall on the wheel. Hopefully. There are two 14mm bolts holding the caliper onto the caliper bracket. Turn. Actually turned pretty easy. I guess they're put on at about 25 pounds of pressure. Then there's one. Okay, I just take them out. That's all it is. And the one on the top. Okay, I gotta be ready to catch this so it doesn't fall. Okay, there's 2 volts, 14mm. And now that just comes right off. And you don't want to put pressure on this line, so now we're just going to hang this guy up. This way out, Andy. You know strut when you're doing it is? It should just pop right out. There we go. There's this little metal plate on there you can take note of. A little metal backing. Actually, a couple little metal backings on there. And there's the original brake pad. It used to be green. Again, the original ones are a little more expensive. They actually don't look that bad. Why are they squeaking so much? Oops. Well, that one's a lot lower than one in the back than that one. So, don't know if you can see that, but here's the difference between the back one and the front one. There's the old one of the old ones, and here's the new one. So, they actually still had a good amount of life on them for the amount they were squeaking. Okay, there's our brake pads lined up. Comes with the clips. Looks like it comes with some brake component lubricant. So this one must be for this side. Yep, that's for that side. And I don't think these ones matter. These ones are exactly the same. So this one must be for this side. Now, why? I mean, really, these are not that bad. They still got a lot of life. So, since they have a lot of life, I think I might just leave the old ones on here, and I'll have to try these Bosch ones out later. Give it a little bit longer. While I have it off, though, I am going to inspect the rotor. Just make sure it's all in good condition. Make sure it's not getting gouged anywhere. Check behind it. So, check back here. Alright, just gonna pop these little brakes back in. Same thing you would do if you were putting in the new brakes. I'm just putting the old brakes back in. Sorry. No? No, you must go this way. There you go, in that way. Yep. There we go. Okay. So what you would do is take the C-clamp and you would compress this caliper. You probably need a nice surface in order to do it, so you can use brake pad. One of the old brake pads is even better. And you just use the C-clamp and you'd put your brake pad on there, and then you just compress the caliper back down so that you could fit it over the new brakes. Since I'm leaving it, we should be able to, yeah, just like that. So that just slips right back onto the old brakes. And then we're going to put our 14mm bolts back into the caliper holder. Get lined up. Okay. There we go. That one loose. And then we'll do the other one. They're supposed to be at 25 pounds of torque. And if you don't have a torque wrench, you could probably guess. But I think my torque wrench goes down to 25 pounds. Let's see. Let's see here. 20. Yeah, it does. 25. So I'm going to get to 20. And then this one goes in increments of 5 on here. So that should be, no, that's 20 right there. So that's 20, 25. And tighten that down on the bottom. Torque wrenches are not that expensive, and if you plan on doing even a few things on your car, it's a good idea to buy one and learn how to use it. So we're just going to use the torque wrench. Enough space. You just basically go until it pops. There it went, okay. There it goes. So 25 pounds is not a lot of torque. There it goes. There it goes. Remember to loosen the torque wrench all the way up before you store it. Now it's time to put the wheel back on. There we go. Yeah. So we're going to actually use the torque wrench to put the lugs back on the wheel as well. The the lugs are supposed to be torqued to 76 or 80. That's what I read for the torque pounds on the lugs. So we're going to set our torque wrench to 80 or 76. No, just 78. Split the difference. Okay. Now you never want to just tighten one up at once. You always want to go in a pattern around the wheel. There we go, one pop. One pop on the top. One pop on the bottom. Up there. Up there. There we go. Oh, lift it up a little bit. So you can get the jack stand out. Jack stand. And then put this back on. If you disconnect your battery, the rear tailgate is not going to open, because there must be some sort of electronic latch feature here. So luckily my door was still open. That would have sucked. So we'll get back here and we will rehook up the battery. Battery back up. So there's the terminal. That is how it was. And again, I think it's a 10mm back here. And basically you just I gotta put the camera down to do this. Okay. Whew, that battery was a pain to hook up. Okay, so let's see here. Before I even start, I'm just gonna pump the brakes a little bit. And then we'll start. Apparently Priuses do weird things. Yep, they do weird things after you disconnect the battery. All the things are weird. There we go. We're back. Guess you lose, after you disconnect the battery, you lose all your presets. Some people say some weird thing about the window. Yep, so that's pretty much it. You lose all your presets and your window doesn't work. Everything else is working. Again, just make sure you pump the brakes a few times before you start driving so they don't cut out on you. Yeah, it seems like the brakes are working pretty good. Just wanted to make sure they're working before we take off to go buy this new van. And now they're not squeaking. So maybe all I had to do was clean the rotor and I'm not hearing any squeaking anymore. Next episode is gonna be redoing the struts. If you found the video helpful and you have a second generation Prius that you like to work on, please subscribe to our channel.